Back in 2015, indie Kickstarter Project Agony, then called Sacred Agony, gained a lot of attention by promising to take us on a first-person journey through hell itself. Since then, screens and videos have only stoked the infernal interest of players with their fascinating, sometimes disturbing teasers of what the final product will look like on launch. If you've been, like me, waiting to get your hands on Agony, then your satanic prayers have been answered. But beware, you can indeed finally go to hell, but you might find that the pain and suffering of eternal torment are not as much fun as you might have hoped. A lot of the excitement around Agony was in its premise of giving you a detailed, realistic tour of the underworld like no game has done before. Personally, I had grand visions of Bosch-inspired panoramas teeming with the damned souls undergoing myriad creative forms of punishment. I imagined rowing through lakes of fire as hell's condemned denizens futilely moaned for relief around me. Admittedly, this was probably an unfair expectation to make of an indie game made on a budget. But still, Agony's Hell stuck me as a disappointment upon my arrival. After entering the gates of hell at the beginning, I spent most of my time crawling through confined corridors made of flesh and bone and oozing sticking gore, reminding me more of the basement of a slaughterhouse than any of the 9 planes. And honestly, we've seen this kind of depiction of hell before, in God of War, Devil May Cry, and many others. Agony does briefly change things up a bit later on, but for the most part, its depiction of hell is not quite as fresh and unique as I had hoped. Visually, Agony has a few standout moments, but the presentation is very uneven. The developers, Mad Mind Games, seem to put a lot of effort into some assets and much less into others. Often, your surroundings are a busy, chaotic jumble of brown and red goo, flesh, glowing gates, and weird symbols that are frankly just confusing to navigate through. If you actually stop to focus on something, like a fetus hanging from the ceiling, you'll be suitably disturbed, but the sheer sensory overload will dull the impact of these moments as you progress. Mad Mind has also chosen to make the game excessively dark overall, so you will usually have trouble seeing much of anything. I found that Agony's Hell is also a disappointingly empty place. Instead of crowds of the damned, you'll bump into individuals here and there, always crouched down in the same animation of lonely torment. The characters you do meet look unfinished at times, first draft models that still need a polygon polish. You pull off their black hoods and talk to them, revealing faces that seem to have only 2 template variations: a nondescript balding woman and Abe Vigoda. There are also demons, enemy AI that prowl around looking to feed on you. These seem to also have 2 flavors, a naked female with a big sideways mouth for a face, and an admittedly very creepy spider monster made entirely of human arms. Overall, Agony's AI could use a lot more variety. On a basic level, if you're looking to check out what it would be like to visit hell, Agony gives you what you want. It's billed as a survival horror, but I would call its gameplay more of a stealth adventure. It is slow-paced. You skulk, an unnamed soul with no knowledge of why you are in hell, through the aforementioned tunnels on a journey to find the Red Goddess, who is your key to escaping. You'll have to make your way through what is essentially a series of mazes, all while avoiding captures from patrolling demons. If they catch you, you're toast, unless you can successfully take control of another soul nearby. If not, you have to restart at the last checkpoint. The checkpoint system needs work. I went nearly an hour without seeing one, and then got 2 within a few minutes. Agony tries hard to horrify you along the way with shocking imagery. There are lots of impaled naked people, dismembered bodies, and bones littering hell. It combines these with an odd obsession with sexual titillation, as the naked are almost always female, and there's a plethora of obvious vagina motifs in unnecessary places. The Red Goddess herself and her attendant Succubi will, of course, strut around nude through a few lavish cutscenes, a purient treat for the adolescent in all of us, to be sure, but a bit of a lazy choice in the game that seems to envision hell as a sort of ultra-edgy red light district rather than a place of painful punishment. But in the end, for me, Agony's greatest deadly sin is that it's mostly just boring. Backtracking through confusing, nondescript environments, trying to find the way out gets to be as tedious as being stuck in purgatory after a while. My nearly 4-hour playthrough involved a lot of wasted time, just not sure where to go next. There's a glowing purple light that you can unleash with the F button, which supposedly shows you the way, but even it seemed confused a lot of the time. And each new environment just didn't offer the novel visual excitement of discovery that makes exploration rewarding. Agony is an ambitious game. It sought to give gamers an experience that they had never had before, which it does mostly deliver, and I have to credit its developers for even the attempt. But this final product just doesn't feel finished. This is more like an early access game, full of promise and great ideas, but just lacking in content, polish, and attention to detail. If your soul hungers to visit the underworld, then by all means check out Agony. Otherwise, save your soul for something better.